If we can't speak civilly, we'll fight brutally. Public servants are being harassed, threatened, and even murdered, while activists wave signs equating ICE with Nazis. This isn't protest, it's poison. Welcome. How are we doing today? Hope y'all are doing awesome. That's what we're going to talk about today. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. Okay. So public servants are being harassed, threatened, and even murdered while activists wave signs equating ICE with Nazis. This isn't a protest. This is poison. And this article is coming from The Blaze. I don't know how you feel about The Blaze, but I read a little of everything, so today's from The Blaze. But anyway, let's get on it. Last weekend in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, protesters gathered for they're calling it No Kings, but I call it I call it like I see it. It's a TDS temper tantrum, or a TDS 2-year-old temper tantrum. I didn't get my way, so I'm going to throw a fit rally. That's what it is. It's not No Kings, 'cause I've gone over that before. They don't care about kings. They don't care about immigration. They don't care about immigrants. They don't care about any. The only thing they care about is hate Donald Trump. That's it. They just have to call it something else because nobody would show up if they called it hate Trump rally. Well, they might get some because there's a lot of people out there that hate Trump. So I don't know. They just need to call it something else because No Kings is ridiculous. They're protesting in the wrong country if they're protesting against kings. But anyway, enough of that. I'm not gonna, that's not what I'm here to talk about. Protesters gathered for a rally holding signs that compared federal immigration officers to Nazis. One reads, "Nazis use trains, ICE uses planes." These kind of messages aren't just offensive, they're dangerous, and they're becoming far too common in politics. That same weekend, halfway across the country, Minnesota State Representative Melissa Hortman, DFL, I don't know what that meant, but DFL, I think she was a state senator or a state House of Representatives or something, but was shot and killed in a politically motivated attack. While the investigation is ongoing, the timing is chilling, and it reminds us that words and rhetoric can have consequences far beyond the floor of a legislative chamber. When public servants are threatened, harassed, or even harmed for doing their jobs, something has gone deeply wrong in our democracy. It's time to turn down the temperature. It's not just in our political speech, but in our main streets, in school board meetings, and even our protest signs. Cool the rhetoric. Public service is about problem solving, not posturating. Not posturing. I've always believed in working with my neighbors, even when we disagree, to make our communities safer and stronger. But that's become harder when disagreement is met with dehumanization and history is twisted into the political theater. We've seen it right here in my community. At a recent public hearing on how to protect children from online predators, a woman disrupted the meeting to shout that our Jewish sheriff, Fred Haran, was a Nazi. A week later, during a Bucks County Commission meeting about a law enforcement partnership with ICE Commissioner Bob Harvey, warned of parallels between modern politics and pre-war Nazi Germany. I've worked hard in the state house to expand Holocaust education in Pennsylvania schools because I believe history must be remembered, not weaponized. As the daughter of educators, I was raised to know that using Nazi references as political attacks is not only dishonors the memory of those who suffered, it poisons the possibility of honest civil debate. Civil discourse is critical. None of this is to say we shouldn't debate serious issues: immigration, public safety, fiscal priorities, and the future of our communities, or that we shouldn't take part in peaceful protests rooted in our First Amendment rights. We must. But we must also remember that democracy isn't about shouting each other down. It's about listening, questioning, and finding common ground. The truth is, most people don't want politics to be a blood sport. They want real solutions. They want their kids to be safe, their neighborhoods to be strong, and their elected officials to focus on solving problems, not scoring points. Let's be better than signs. Let's be better than sound bites. Let's choose to be neighbors first and partisans second. Because if we don't change the tone now, we risk losing more than just elections. We risk losing one another. And that's the article. It's pretty, it's just about, there's these protests are getting a lot more violent. Not necessarily violent like rioting. I mean, some of them they're starting to riot. The Los Angeles, I think Austin was getting a little violent, but they're getting more targeted and more politically motivated. I mean, they've been politically motivated. It's not that, but they're more pinpointing it. They're becoming more, like I said, they're targeting. Like they targeted this Melissa Hortman. I think it was over something stupid that she voted against something or voted for something that they didn't agree with, and things like that. And like I said, they're calling ICE. They're referring to ICE as Nazis. They do that with everything. Like Trump's a Nazi and MAGA's Nazis, and you're all. If you want to compare anyone to Nazis, okay, Nazis, their motive was death to all Jews. Who does death to all Jews? I've never heard Trump say that once. I've never heard any MAGA person say that once. Not once. Who says death to America? I don't think MAGA said that. I don't think any MAGA person said that or Trump said that. So if you want to compare anyone to Nazis, you're obviously calling the wrong people Nazis. We're not trying to kill off an entire race, or we're deporting them, but that don't mean we're killing them. We're not detaining them into like death camps and concentration camps like they do. We're just putting them in detention centers while we can vet them and find out who they are and then send them back to their homeland. How is that even close to compared to Nazis? I mean, really, explain that. Somebody in the comments, explain to me, how does that compare to Nazis? I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some of you liberals down there below, but I've never once heard any ICE agent or anybody on the right say death to the Jews. I've never heard any of them side with Hamas or Palestine or Iran or any of that. I've never heard any of them side with those guys. I've never heard any of them say death to America. I've never seen any of them burning the American flag. I've never seen any of them say death to one of their leaders and all their followers. Nobody says death to Obama, or nobody says death to Biden. Nobody says death to... No one on our side says any of that. But everyone says, maybe not everyone on the left, but the left, death to Trump. They were celebrating the attempted assassination, and they were why did he miss? Why? And then there's people, death, we need to just kill Trump and all of his followers. Who's the Nazi again? Who should we compare not to Nazis again? It's definitely not the right, not Trump, and not Trump's followers, and not ICE. They're not nowhere anywhere near that. And the more you say it, the more the people on that side are going to buy into it. And that's the problem. You guys are the ones spreading the fear and spreading the hate and spreading the division. It's not those on the right. It's not Trump. It's not Trump's followers. It's not Trump supporters. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the rhetoric that the left is painting. The picture that they're painting in your brain. They're brainwashing you. It's all. And then you talk about a cult. Who's in the cult again? Who's the one that's actually getting brainwashed here? I mean, seriously, death to all Jews, death to America, death to... What normal, sane person would say stuff like that? What normal, sane person would say Trump needs to die and all his followers? What normal, sane person would talk like that? There isn't one. Anyone with common sense, anyone with any kind of sensible thought in their brain would not even remotely think that. Yeah, I may not have liked Biden. I may not have liked Obama. I may not like certain things, but I never wished the death upon them. Like, seriously. Like, who's the Nazis again? But anyway, enough of that. I was just, these protests, these tantrums that they're throwing, they're not necessarily getting bigger. I mean, they're getting bigger, but they're not necessarily, they may not necessarily be totally violent. It's just the rhetoric that they're pushing is causing other kind of violence. Like the one in Salt Lake, there was a shooting by one of them, by a peacekeeper that they hired or whatever. I heard they were volunteers, but the protesting committee had some what they called peacekeepers that actually shot somebody, and they shot an innocent person. They ended up shooting and killing an innocent person that was just there, minding their own business, doing their own thing. And they saw someone with an AR-15, which in Utah is an open carry state, and you're allowed to carry an AR-15. Yeah, it may not be wise to just walk around the street with an AR-15, but you're allowed to. By legally, lawfully, Second Amendment, you're allowed to carry an AR-15 down the street. You can. It's totally fine. The story was that he was pointing it at somebody like he was getting ready to shoot it, so they shot, but the story's changing a lot. They've since they arrested the guy with the AR-15 for it. But basically what happened was the guy was carrying an AR-15, and he was seen by these peacekeepers, that is what they're called, that were hired or brought on by the protesting organizers. And the story says he was pointing his gun, so they fired 3 shots, hitting him, injuring him, just kind of it grazed him, and then they ended up killing somebody else. But the guy with the AR-15 was the one arrested. And no charges were filed at the time on the guy that actually pulled the trigger. But they got him because he had a gun, because he had an AR-15, so they arrested him. But he's since been let out. He's with restrictions. He probably has to appear in court and all that. But he's been released, and he's been, because of that, it's legal to carry an AR-15. And until they have evidence that he was actually pointing it at somebody, they can't detain him. They can't hold him. They can't hold him fully accountable for this. So there's a story going on, and it's just getting worse and worse as far as that. I mean, they may not be getting as violent as like the George Floyds and as like the Los Angeles. They may not be getting like that all over, but the rhetoric's getting worse, and the amount of brainwashing to these people is getting a lot worse, and people are starting to get a lot more hate in their souls towards Trump and towards his followers and towards that. And it's not going to change. It's only going to get worse. So basically, stay armed, stay protected, carry what the most effective tool you can carry legally. I don't want not advocating you break any laws, but if you can carry a firearm, carry a firearm. Keep your head on a swivel. Stay aware. This world is getting crazy, and the the enemy is getting a lot stronger. As far as not necessarily, they're just getting stronger. And never underestimate your enemy because you never know what they've got. They've got a lot more funding backing it up than we do. We're fighting with what we've been stockpiling. They're fighting with what they're being funded by these billionaires. So never underestimate them. The world's getting crazy and it's only going to get worse. Keep your head on a swivel. If it looks like a bad situation, smells like a bad situation, feels like a bad situation, it's a bad situation. And try to escape, try to get away. Don't be there. Best way to avoid it is just not to be there at all. Anyway, that's the video. Links below. Appreciate y'all. Love you. Do the YouTube stuff. Like I said, links are below to some of my other channels, and if you want to support the show, there's a link down below if you feel like it, or if you feel like it. No pressure for that. But anyway, appreciate y'all. Love you. See you in the next one.